welcome to highlights of the 1994 Spanish Grand Prix, brought to you by Mircoprose and GP2Joey. We're in the beautiful city of Barcelona this weekend for the 5th round of this epic season, where the Circuit de Catalunya sees a raft of chassis changes designed to reduce downforce in the wake of the tragic San Marino Grand Prix earlier this month that saw Roland Ratzenberger tragically lose his life. As F1 continued to grieve following the Austrian's untimely death, Britain's Joey Davies claimed a brilliant third consecutive win around the streets of Monte Carlo for Ferrari last time out, holding off the Benetton of Michael Schumacher after the two raced wheel to wheel for the duration of what was one of the greatest Monaco Grand Prix of all time. In the Drivers' Championship, it's the German who leads the way by 10 points ahead of the Williams Renault of Ayrton Senna, with Benetton teammate Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Senna teammate Damon Hill with Alain Prost in 5th, 4 points ahead of Davies, who is only 35 points off the top. In the constructors' standings, Benetton lead Williams by 12 points, with Ferrari looking to continue closing the gap in 3rd, now only 59 points away, whilst Ligier Prost are 1 point further back in 4th, ahead of McLaren and Jordan in 6th. In the news leading up to the race, fresh from his win in Monaco, Davies abandoned his plan to run in the Indy 500 to focus on resurrecting his title challenge. McLaren then surprised everyone by announcing they had stolen Sauber's works engine deal with Mercedes from 1995, after signing an exclusive 3-year deal, all of which left Sauber in a state of shock, who had no prior knowledge of the deal. The FIA then confirmed from the next race in Canada, all cars would have a mandatory sized airbox opening to reduce the engine ram effect, before confirming the Benetton investigation into illegal use of traction control would be delayed until after Barcelona, and Jean-Marc Gounod was confirmed at Simtech for the rest of the year. Elsewhere, McLaren test driver Oliver Gavin was rumoured to be in the running to replace Indy 500-bound Michael Andretti this weekend, before team owner Mario Andretti got behind the wheel of one of his cars, with the American legend setting competitive lap times, yet denying any plans of a remarkable comeback. Formula 3000 front-runner Kenny Brack was then in the frame for the seat, before the announcement duly came on the eve of first practice that McLaren had blocked Gavin's chance, which then resulted in the surprise announcement that for the first time since the 1982 Italian Grand Prix and 12 years out of the sport, Mario Andretti would be sensationally putting his helmet on for one last time and racing his own car this weekend. Friday morning's 30-minute pre-qualifying session is always a dramatic affair, and this one was no exception, as the 12 drivers fought it out to make the race qualifying based on average lap times of both team drivers. David Coulthard impressed again in the Simtech, going fastest early on, as hopes were that the new Bravo F1 team could break their pre-qualifying duck and make it into their home race, but in the end it was the Pacific Mugen Honda of Mika Salo that ran out the fastest, with the LaRusse of Bertrand Gachot second, and the impressive veteran Michele Alboreto third for Minardi, who were joined by both Pacific and Simtech in progressing, whilst their rivals were sent home, their respective weekends done already. Friday's first qualifying session was electric, as surprisingly Senna took to the track early on, immediately going fastest and by some margin, to what many figured would then be a dramatic battle between his Williams and Schumacher's Benetton. That all disappeared 30 minutes into the session, when the German suddenly went an incredible 0.4 seconds faster than the Brazilian, and whilst the focus on the battle for pole raged, the crowds and even rival team members all erupted when the returning Mario Andretti crossed the line near the end of the session to go 20th fastest. It was simply a stunning performance from the 54-year-old, but it was Schumacher who ultimately claimed the provisional pole, ahead of the impressive Ligier Prost pairing of Prost and Jean Alesi, with Frentzen taking a fine 4th, ahead of a frustrated Senna in 5th, whilst Monaco winner Davies and Ferrari teammate Gerhard Berger languished down in 15th and 19th respectively. Afterwards, Schumacher beamed at the gap to his title rival Senna, whilst Prost started the rumour mill going again by saying that he hoped the German's Benetton was legal, whilst an irate Senna demanded that the FIA ban the team for using illegal traction control, which he said was the only reason Schumacher was so far ahead of him. Elsewhere, there was delight following Andretti's performance, with the man himself admitting it had left him stunned, but that he felt the 12 years away from F1 were not too much of an obstacle for him to overcome. Overnight improvements on his Williams Renault saw Senna go quicker than Friday quite early into Saturday's final qualifying session, with the Brazilian looking to close the gap to Schumacher at the top. It all looked set for another grandstand finish between the two until the German went another 3/10 quicker in the Benetton, and it was left to the Scarlet of Ferrari's Davies to try and conjure up another mesmeric lap in the dying seconds. Alas, it was not to be, as a small error in the final sector saw the Brit, who had been quickest through the first 2/3 of the lap, lose out to Schumacher, who claimed his third pole of the year by 0.2 of a second. It had been another gallant effort from Davies in second, with Prost taking third, ahead of Senna, Alesi, Frentzen, Häkkinen and Hill in eighth, whilst it was the unfortunate Gunon and Ukyo Katayama who both failed to qualify. Afterwards, Schumacher was quick to preempt any accusations his way in declaring his car was fully legal and that the pole time was down to his abilities alone, whilst Davies admitted he was frustrated at his own costly error, robbing him of the pole, and Prost again hoped the gods would be smiling on him come Sunday afternoon. Then came Senna's incredible threat that, in the face of yet more evidence to his eyes of blatant cheating from Benetton, if the sports governing body did not find the team guilty at their hearing next week, Senna confirmed he would quit the sport with immediate effect. All of which prompted Schumacher to wish the defending world champion well in his upcoming exodus from the sport, whilst F1 ringmaster Bernie Ecclestone asked for calm, and then a delighted Mario Andretti admitted he was stunned at having taken 20th place after his 12-year absence. So it's Michael Schumacher and Joey Davies on the front row, with Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna on row 2. Row 3 is Jean Alesi and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Row 4 is Mika Häkkinen and Damon Hill. Row 5 is Johnny Herbert and Carl Wendlinger. Row 6 is JJ Leto and Martin Brundle. Row 7 is Olivier Panis and Rubens Barrichello. Row 8 is Eddie Irvine and Gilles de Ferran. Row 9 is Jos Verstappen and Bert Schneider. Row 10 is Gerhard Berger and the returning Mario Andretti. Row 11 is Derek Warwick and Mika Salo. Row 12 is Christian Fittipaldi and Michele Alboreto. And at the back it's David Coulthard and Pierluigi Martini. It's a cloudless blue sky in Barcelona as we get ready for the 65-lap Spanish Grand Prix, and the red lights come on. And it's go! Schumacher gets away poorly from the pole, and so does Davies from second place. It's Alain Prost in the lead, with Senna in second place. Schumacher's dropped to third as Senna looks to go through on the inside. Into the first corner, it's Senna. Senna's ahead and it's Davies. Davies jumps up into second place behind the Brazilian. It's Senna and Davies with Prost in third. Frentzen is up into fourth. Schumacher's dropped from pole down to fifth place, but up the hill through the third turn, it's Senna in the lead. Davies is challenging and he's through. So Davies goes through. Davies in the Ferrari leads the Spanish Grand Prix. Fantastic start from the British driver. Senna's in second, it's Prost third. Frentzen is fourth. Schumacher fifth, Alesi sixth, Hill in seventh.
Yes, a quite superb start there from Joey Davies in the Ferrari. Fantastic opportunism there to overtake Schumacher and Prost and Senna, all in a couple of corners. Fantastic. And already it looks like the Benetton boys are battling with one another, with Schumacher looking to try and get through the inside as Davies defends down the inside from Senna. And already the Williams is clambering all over the gearbox of that Scarlet Ferrari.
But is Davies going to be able to keep Senna behind him for very long? I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I think he's really going to struggle. He's struggled with a tremendous amount of understeer in the car on a heavy fuel load. And it's a 3-stop, 2-stop, 1-stop strategy going to be employed by all the drivers as Davies looks to go through on the inside. He defends the line, across the line for the first time, and they're separated by less than 0.2 of a second. As Davies hogs the inside line, Senna's weaving about trying to get the toe, but Davies has got it blocked. And Schumacher goes through into third position. So it's Prost who drops down into fourth. And are we going to see Schumacher making his way as we get a start of the replay from Davies?
Yes, you can just see immediately there that Davies just bogs down with an immediate amount of wheel spin, and he gets absolutely clattered by the Williams of Damon Hill there. Quite unfortunate there for Hill. As Davies looks to block Alesi on the inside, he leaves the gap, does Alain Prost, and there goes Joey. Through there, lucky avoids hitting contact with his good friend Ayrton Senna as he tries to follow him now up the hill, and you'll hear Davies on the accelerator a lot earlier than Senna was, and that's what gave him the toe as he slips it up the inside and takes the lead into the fourth corner. Fantastic start from the Briton. And Schumacher goes underneath Senna and he's through. So Michael Schumacher has dropped to fifth at the start and now he's clawed his way back. He's past Senna as Hakkinen looks to try and go past JJ Leto. But Schumacher now he's going to be hounding Joey Davies. And is he going to be able to get past him? Yes, I'm pretty sure that Davies is going to do everything he possibly can to make that Ferrari as wide as he dare. With his little puff of smoke there as he goes through the right-hand kink. But Schumacher is gaining on him very much so. Schumacher, he's all over the gearbox of that Ferrari, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see Schumacher try and make a move now into the hairpin, down into the left-hander. He goes through. No, Davies defends again. Fantastic. Schumacher bowled out of it. He bottled out of that Senna. That gives him the chance to close up the gap. As we see Herbert trying to get past the McLaren of Martin Brundle for 12th position. But he can't do it, and Davies and Schumacher, they're separated by only a tenth of a second. It's Senna in third, Frentzen is fourth, Alesi fifth, and Alain Prost. As we see Mario Andretti looking to pass the Ferrari of Gerhard Berger, but he can't get through. And I have to say, this is absolutely wonderful stuff. A real PR coup for the team as Jos Verstappen parks his Brabham, unfortunately retiring from the Grand Prix. But what a sight to see this really is, to see Mario Andretti after 12 years back in the sport, replacing his son Michael, who of course is off racing in the Indianapolis 500. As we see Bernd Schneider pulling over in the Tyrrell, unsurprisingly, yet another mechanical failure with Davies and Schumacher now. And Davies has lost the position, and they touch. Davies is all over the back of the Benetton. He's desperately trying to get through. It wasn't picked up by the TV cameras, but Schumacher has taken the lead. Fantastic stuff. And Davies, can he stay with the Benetton? You can see him really pushing that Ferrari. He's using all the curves that he possibly can do, but he can't get through there. And Schumacher blocks him on the exit. Fantastic stuff for Davies. He slips it up the inside and he retakes the lead. Fantastic stuff. It's almost a copybook repeat of their battle in Monte Carlo, and this time it's on a proper racing circuit and not around the tight confines of Monaco. But Davies has got Schumacher behind him now, and Schumacher gets bogged by the Ferrari. This is scintillating stuff. Is Schumacher going to try and make a move into the first corner? Davies, he leaves the gap. Is he going to go through? He can't, Davies. He leaves the braking as late as he possibly dare, and he covers the line. And this is Barrichello and Irvine trying to get past the Sauber of JJ Leto. Yes, I think it's fairly clear to see that JJ Leto is one stopping, whilst the front runners, I'm pretty sure they're going to be two stopping today. But perhaps Sauber have got something up their sleeve with that strategy. But his teammate Carl Vendinger is doing an incredibly good job as Davies goes off. And Davies, he spin the Ferrari. Barely captured by the TV cameras. But Davies has lost the back end of the Ferrari, and he's done a full 360. He's lost positions. He's gone from first to second to third to fourth, and he's down in fifth place. And there he goes. He recovers, but my goodness me, he's damaged on the front wing, and he's going to have to come into the pits. And he's off. And Davies is off, and he's in the gravel. Yes, Joey Davies is most certainly getting bad vibes from that Ferrari at the moment. He really is. And he's into the pits with a damaged front wing, so this is going to drop him right down the field. But what are Ferrari going to do? Because we just heard that he's asked them to fill the car completely up. He wants to not stop again for the rest of the race, and you can see there that they're not planning to stop him again. So they're hoping that they can leapfrog everybody else. But of course his car is going to be extraordinarily heavy now. With another 42 laps of this race to go, he's got a lot of asking to do for himself from the Ferrari boys if he wants to get back into the fight. I don't think that Davies is going to be able to do anything about it as the race leader, Michael Schumacher. He comes into the pits on lap 23, and Hightail Frentzen is the leader, and there he is. What a delight that is to see as Senna comes into the pits. Senna's into the pits, and Alesi's into the pits as well in the Ligier Prost, and Brundle spins the McLaren from 12th position. He spins inexplicably. Yes, he is really struggling this year with that McLaren, Martin Brundle. They've got inherent problems with the handling of that car that he just cannot seem to resolve at the moment. We're 5 races in, and I'm pretty sure that he's only scored a single point this year. whilst teammate Mika Häkkinen has completely wiped the floor with him, and Martin Brundle's future at the team most certainly is going to come under question if he doesn't register some good race finishes in the coming races. But back up front, there's Christian Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi losing the footwork arrows there as Frentzen comes into the pits. Frentzen is into the pits. That means that Alain Prost is going to take the lead as we watch Fittipaldi desperately trying to get his car back onto the road. He's out of the gravel, over the curbs, and he is. He's back out there, and Wendlinger. So we thought he was one stopping, but he isn't. So Carl Wendlinger's two stopping. This is fantastic stuff as Schumacher passes Häkkinen. He's up into second place, which still is the first place with Ayrton Senna behind him, desperately trying to close the gap to Damon Hill, who we know is one stopping. And there's Davies. And what a moment that is there as Davies. He probably never thought that he was ever going to be racing Mario Andretti. Oh, they're very good. Mario Andretti is absolutely one of Joey Davies' heroes there. And that will be a real moment in that Ferrari cockpit for the Britain to actually pass the American legend. A fantastic moment there. But back up front, it's Schumacher chasing down Alain Prost as they come through the final corner. And Prost, he's not going to offer any resistance to Schumacher because Prost is one stopping as we see Mario Andretti. My goodness me, how wonderful it is to be saying that. Andretti goes underneath the rookie David Coulthard and he goes up into 20th position. It's Andretti as Schumacher, unseen by the TV cameras. He takes the lead as Senna slips it up the inside of Michele Alboreto, who languishes down in 23rd position in the Minardi. But it's delightful to see the veteran in the Grand Prix himself as Alain Prost comes across the line. But Schumacher, the lead over the Frenchman is already 3 seconds. But perhaps more importantly, it's Senna passing Mika Häkkinen, and the gap to Schumacher between Schumacher and Senna is 8.5 seconds. And Prost is slowing in the Ligier. He's slowing, he's completely out of power. Yes, I suspect that is a transmission failure there for Alain Prost. Yet another retirement. My goodness me, his final year as a Grand Prix driver is turning into an utter nightmare. It really is. And Barrichello! He's behind Davies now. Davies has made his way up, but of course he's on worn tyres. He's on a heavier fuel load than the Jordans, and that's the Tyrrell. That's the Tyrrell of Johnny Herbert, with Frentzen going through. Frentzen in third place, and Barrichello desperately trying to find a way past Joey Davies. Yes, but Joey Davies is blocking them as he has every single right to do there. But what a battle that is that's going on. Meantime, the gap between Schumacher and Senna is out to 9.5 seconds. And one has to say that unless something quite untoward happens to Michael Schumacher, he really does have this race in the back pocket of his jeans. His German jeans, and my goodness me, do we know that he loves wearing his white sweaters and his jeans, although why on earth I'm talking about that in the middle of a Grand Prix, I have absolutely no idea. Meantime, there's a man with good fashion sense. That's Heinz-Harald Frentzen right there. The man's a legend in the fashion world. But back up front, there's Michael Schumacher, and he's going to try and pass Mario Andretti, who's running in 16th position. My goodness, let me remind you, he has not driven a Formula One car since 1982. And he's in 16th place. And David Coulthard has got smoke billowing out of the back of his Syntec. And he pulls over to retire the car. But Davis is up into 7th place now because the other front runners, Hill and Lacey, they've all stopped. But it's Davis. He's up into 7th position now. He's got Damon Hill for close company. And Schumacher goes underneath Martin Brundle. But look at the gap. Yes, the gap between Schumacher and Senna, this really is looking quite ominous now. It's 13.8 seconds. My goodness, he really is going ahead. And Damon Hill now is desperately trying to get past Joey Davies, who is blocking everybody. My God, this is scintillating defensive driving from Joey Davies. But can Damon Hill find a way past? But Schumacher is catching them. Hand over fist, and there's contact. That's Herbert and Barrichello. They make contact. Was that as a consequence of Davis and his defensive driving? But of course he's perfectly entitled to keep these cars behind him because he's racing for 7th position in the Ferrari. He's got Damon Hill right behind him. He's got Johnny Herbert right behind him. He's got Eddie Irvine right behind him. And there is the Ulsterman. You can see the Davis now, the big train of cars, with Schumacher in the background going through. And Michael Schumacher will be absolutely desperate to try and get through these back markers because, of course, the gap to Ayrton Senna is 14.7 seconds, and Schumacher really must try and navigate his way through, with Frentzen closing the gap as well, and Schumacher goes through. So Michael Schumacher on another planet compared to everybody else there, in first place, and he's only got Damon Hill and the Ferrari of Joey Davies in front of him now, as Senna goes through the complex there into the S's, and he goes through, and Carl Wendinger losing the Sauber. Wendinger's off from 5th position, inexplicably loses the back end of the Sauber. Fantastic stuff. What drama in Barcelona as the McLaren goes through. The other cars are coming through. He's waiting for a gap in the traffic, and he rejoins the circuit, and he carries on. So Wendinger loses the position to Mika Häkkinen, and there's the young Finn in the McLaren, and Senna's into the pits for the second and final time in the Williams. But is he going to be able to close the gap to Schumacher? Yes, I very much doubt that he will. And Herbert going off there, and he gets clobbered. My goodness, he gets clobbered by one of the Benettons there. I do believe that was Michael Schumacher. It was, and Schumacher seems to have lost his nose on the Benetton. My goodness me, what on earth has happened to the race leader? Well, I fear that he's had contact with Joey Davies, and that looks like one of the Ligiers. I think that's got to be Jean Alesi. Well, of course it has to be Alesi, because Alain Prost has already retired. And there's Davies defending once more from Damon Hill, desperately trying to keep that Williams and the two Jordans and the Tyrrell behind him. But Davies goes defensive now, and he's got Damon Hill all over the inside of him. And Davies, my goodness, Damon Hill looked to try and go through on the inside there, but there was nothing doing there. The two Britons battling, and he tries to go through again, but Davies just completely covers the line, and he really is driving incredibly slowly now as he once more hacks away at the front wing of that Williams Renault. But Damon Hill goes on the attack again. Davies goes on the inside. This is scintillating stuff. What action! As we see JJ Leto going through as one of the Andretti's comes into the pits. And the Benetton comes in as well, and it's Frentzen into the pits with Salo, and there's Irvine. And he hits! He hits! That's Davies spinning off. Davies gets hit by the Jordan of Eddie Irvine. So Irvine, the incredibly popular Ulsterman, he'd obviously grown impatient trying to find a way past Davies, so he just said, absolutely not, chump. I'm not going to try and force my way through there. I'm going to simply knock you out of the way and continue on my own merry way. So Davies, once again, he's lost, and we've lost pictures. We've lost pictures, Mr. TV Director. Look at this. There's a puff of smoke, and Senna takes the lead inexplicably. He's through. Schumacher's lost position with Davies in the middle of it. Schumacher is in the middle of it, and there he is, and he's behind the Ferrari. And Davies, surely he's going to come into the pits, and he does. So it's Schumacher continuing on his way, but he's lost a lot of time behind Ayrton Senna, who is now the race leader. As we see Olivier Panis going through there on the inside of JJ Leto. So fantastic performance from the young Frenchman, who is very hotly tipped to possibly emulate Alain Prost and possibly be a future world champion, as we ride on board with Michael Schumacher. I'm getting all my words wrong because, my goodness me, the action on the TV screen is absolutely intoxicating as we see JJ Leto again. My goodness me, the TV director does like the young Finn. We're seeing an awful lot of him, considering that the position that he's in, he's not even in the top 10. But there we go, as Ayrton Senna comes across the line for the 50th time, as we ride on board with Schumacher, and I do believe that that is the Ferrari of Davies. And Davies goes through, he lets Senna go through, and my goodness, was that a swerve at Schumacher? Yes, I think that could very well have been a swerve there, as we see Gilles de Ferran and the two Andretti Lotuses battling there. De Ferran going up the inside of his team owner, Mario Andretti, for 13th position, I think that was. But Mr. TV Director, we really need to see what's happening up front. And Häkkinen! That's Mika Häkkinen pulling off in the Ferrari, in retirement from 4th position. Tragedy for the team and for the young Finn, because on lap 53 he is retiring, and that's Martini pulling over in the Minardi. He's going to be retiring, he's out of the race as well. But back up front, the gap between Senna and Schumacher, it's 7.5 seconds. It's fantastic. It's Frentzen. Frentzen's in 3rd, and we ride on board with Davies in 19th, as Schumacher looks to go through on the inside. But Davies, is he going to let him through with Frentzen now riding close attendance? It's Davies on the inside, but where's Schumacher? Schumacher undoubtedly has got ahead of the Ferrari as Davies accelerates, and that's a car up. That's Michael Schumacher. Schumacher! My goodness, Schumacher goes on. Was he run out of road by the Ferrari? Goodness me, we know that Davies has been very unhappy with the Benetton situation and all the rumours regarding the legality of their car. But that was quite extraordinary there, because Davies was in 19th place. And look at this is Hill.
Hill lets the team leader Ayrton Senna through as Senna carries on, and it's 11.8 seconds, and let's have a look at the replay.
Yes, this is going to be very interesting now as Schumacher takes a wide berth of that Ferrari, thinking that he's got the outside line, but you just saw the flash of the Ferrari there on the inside, and I'm sorry, but to me, that very much looks as though he was forced off the road by the Ferrari of Davies, and Schumacher had absolutely nowhere to go there. But let's see it on board from the Ferrari. You can see Schumacher. Schumacher's more than a car's width ahead. He even overtakes the Ferrari. Davies just sends it up the inside. And I'm sorry, Joey, we may very well be close companions, but to me, that was most certainly quite deliberate. And I think you could very well be in deep trouble with the race stewards as we see more traffic and drama.
And that's Davies. Davies battling ahead, and this is Schumacher again. Is he going to try and pass the Benetton on the inside? Schumacher's got to be wary, but this time the Benetton goes through. So Davies gives up the ghost. He lets the Benetton of Schumacher go through. But the gap is 23 seconds to Ayrton Senna. And I fear that Michael Schumacher will now most certainly not be able to win the Spanish Grand Prix that almost certainly was in his pocket at the expense of Joey Davies, because Ayrton Senna is on the final lap now. He rounds the right-hand hairpin. He's only got 2 more corners to go. Ayrton Senna, he approaches the penultimate corner. He's through the final corner. And Ayrton Senna crosses the line to win the Spanish Grand Prix. Fantastic stuff. What a dramatic Grand Prix that was, with Frentzen taking a fine third in the second Benetton. But where's Schumacher? Schumacher, there he is. He also is going to cross the line to take third place, but I'm sure he's going to be more than frustrated. And look at this. The battle rages between De Fer and Brundle and the Sauber as for 12th, 13th, 14th. And look at this. There's Mario Andretti. He rounds the final corner to take 15th place on his return. Fantastic stuff. But it's Ayrton Senna, the winner, after a most dramatic Grand Prix. So it's Senna who becomes the first 2-time winner this year after a strong drive from the Brazilian in one of the most exciting yet controversial races for a very long time. Frentzen again impressed in the Benetton, taking a fine second place ahead of teammate Schumacher, who many will say should have won, and by some distance, were it not for the questionable tactics employed by an agitated Davies, who finished 3 laps down on his way to a lowly 20th place finish. Villinger claimed a brilliant 4th for Sauber ahead of the underwhelming Alesi and Hill in 5th and 6th, with Herbert claiming a fine 7th for Tyrrell ahead of Panis and the Jordan pair of Irvine and Barrichello in 9th and 10th. Without doubt, it was the return of Andretti who made the headlines as the American legend battled his way to an incredible 15th place finish. On the podium, Senna celebrated his win in style but admitted he had been fortunate to claim the win for Williams. Frentzen said he was happy with another haul of points after another brilliant drive, but Schumacher was beyond angry with Davies, who he claimed single-handedly cost him the win before demanding that Britain be banned from the sport for deliberate dangerous driving. The Ferrari star duly responded by saying he was innocent of all charges, unconvincingly denying he blocked the German repeatedly, but the FIA then confirmed they would hold an investigation into the driving standards of the number 27 Ferrari in the coming days. Elsewhere, in the Andretti garage, there was sheer delight as despite the team failing to score any points, the sight of De Fer and team owner Andretti registering 12th and 15th place finishes left everyone with smiles on their faces. Andretti admitted he was stunned at his own performance, which was subsequently applauded by 3-time champ and good friend Niki Lauda, who said it was one of the greatest comeback stories of all time. Fastest lap in the race went to Davies, but the stewards disqualified the Briton from the classification, meaning that Schumacher, who had next fastest lap, would end up with the bonus point and not his British rival. In the standings, Schumacher stays top, but his lead is reduced to 4 points ahead of Senna as Hill drops further behind Frentzen in third and Prost falls 45 points off the top after his retirement in the race, whilst Davies remains 6th, now 48 points from Schumacher. In the constructors' standings, Benetton extend their lead over Williams to 15 points as the gap to the rest continues to grow, with Ligier Prost falling 81 points adrift in third, and after one of their worst races in many years, Ferrari languished down in fourth, 87 points off the top. Next up, We head to Montreal, where the second of 3-phase safety rules will be enforced that will see all cars fitted with mandatory airbox openings on the engine covers designed to cut approximately 80 horsepower. With Benetton set to appear before the FIA World Council and answer questions relating to the legality of their cars, there remains the very real threat that the team could, if found guilty, be banned for some races or even the rest of the season. If they walk away with a slapped wrist, will Senna carry out his threat to retire? Will Davies even be racing himself as he faces question about his driving standards this weekend? It all promises to be a dramatic few weeks, but for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for the 6th round of the 1994 Formula 1 World Championship and the Canadian Grand Prix.